Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this show runs through the ages. Sinners and saints, goblins and haints, but beware as they say we're contagious. Sick with the truth, we uncover the lies. We beat on the drums as they march side by side. Wake up, my dear friends, and smell that fresh roast. Last night shall no longer exist. You're here by yourself, but you're never alone, as we spin stories you'll hear in the mist. Reptilians and greys, we folk who stay hidden. Mysterious booms, archaeology forbidden. Stay away from the village, keep off of the moors. There's a lady in white and bloodstains on the floor. So sit back and relax, take the load off your feet, as we're here to amaze, entertain, and complete. You see, my name is John, and Stacey's here too, and my, do we have something in store for you. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow, with your host, authors of Till Death and Beyond, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we are stocked up.
Yes, we are.
We are batting the hatches. We are Katie bar the door. We are ammoed up, and we are ready for Armageddon.
Yes, I suppose that's what we're supposed to be getting ready for.
Armageddon it. Yes, I'm getting it. God, stupid, Def Leppard. Sorry for those I offended. I did like the first couple albums. Before the drummer lost his arm, it has nothing to do with him losing the arm.
Right.
That's my point of reference for where I stopped liking them.
Right, I see.
Nothing to do with the tragedy of him losing an arm.
Gotcha.
Okay, just throwing it out there.
Okay.
But they sucked after that. Anyway, the last episode, we need to talk about this.
Okay.
For those of you who listened to the last episode, of course it was a little bit of an offshoot. It was
different for us.
It was different because it was supposed to be different.
It was, because it was the 100th episode.
It was the 100th episode of the Sideshow. It was supposed to be a little celebration.
Yes.
We didn't know anything that the other one was going to say or ask. It just ended up being the same questions.
Well, great minds.
We could totally win the matchmaking game.
Yes, we could.
The newlywed game.
The newlywed game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It only took us 20 years, but we could totally win that now.
We could do that.
We were trying to stay away from the coronavirus. All right. Just because you have enough down in your life.
Yeah, that's all you see right now.
Yeah, it's politics, and then it was corona, and not the good kind of corona.
Is there a good kind of
No,
corona?
there's really not. I was thinking about the commercial where the guy's on the beach. And
oh, yes.
The beach part's good.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, there's not a good corona. I hate corona. But anyway, the long and short of it is, on a serious note, this is a very trying time for everyone. I know a lot of people out there, a lot of our listeners are, maybe without your job right now. It's up in the air until something happens, until they figure something out, until we start getting a handle on this. And hopefully that's sooner than later. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of good, positive things out there where they've had some success with a few things. We usually don't address things like this on here because we are a distraction.
Yes.
And we want to stay a distraction, but we also want to do our civic duty, if you will, and not just make fun of things because we're suffering as well. We are stocked up, like we said, and that's no joke, man. We are going a little grocery time fun, okay? Because everybody can relate to this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have been, not because we panicked,
right?
Okay? We were not going to panic. In fact, we took this too lightly.
Mm-hmm.
We did, and some people do because that's what we do as humans. How many times have you heard about the big hurricane coming?
Right.
And you go out and you get all this stuff, and then it just is a rainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna snow 5 feet, and you get a dusting, right?
Mm-hmm.
This just didn't seem like something that could happen here, and that's just it. I'll call it like it is, but it is happening. So it's changing a lot of things we've never seen change before, ever. Mm-hmm. So I seen a good point made the other day, and this was really interesting to me. we talk about, well, this can't happen. You know, this is the way it's always is. This is our normal and all this, but this is our normal based on the last 150 years, based on the last 100 years even. You know, we didn't have all these luxuries. We didn't have all these things 100 years ago.
Right.
And the point was, before that, it was kind of, hard to get around, and transportation was different, and it's going to change everything. You think that people are going to jump back on buses the second that this is cleared up? I don't.
No.
I think people are going to probably take their personal transportation for a while.
Right.
Public transportation is probably going to be hurting for a while. It's like, no, I'll drive. You can keep your plane ticket. It's okay. So it's going to change things, but we're all going to make it through this, and we're here to help you make it through it, because that's what we do.
Yes.
And we'll do it with a whole bunch of comedy, hopefully.
For us personally, we didn't panic, but we did have to go to a lot of stores because we wanted to have, at least in case we were quarantined, on the off chance, you have to be prepared. We needed to have enough food for 6 people.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have that. And so we started going around and trying to find things that we thought we could eat for 2 weeks, canned food, just things like that. And it was a little bit difficult because we were a little late to the game.
Yeah. And we eat out. Okay.
We do. We eat out a lot.
I worked my entire life to not have to cook. It's just something that Stacey and I aspired to. Our dream is to live in hotels. Now, I know that sounds silly. People are like, well, I want this big house. No, we want to live in a hotel all the time.
A nice one where they bring you the food.
Just all the time.
Clean your room.
I mean, we don't want much, okay? We don't want much. We just want hotels and new towns. And we talk about stuff like this. If we ever go missing, you'll find us. And you'll think it's us, but Stacey and I will both have a beard, and we'll be working on a dock somewhere because that's just who we are inside. It's in there, people. It's in there.
I will say we were prepared on the school front, though, because we already did homeschool. So all those people where their kids all of a sudden aren't going to school.
This is grand.
That's not something that we had to deal with because we already do that.
Yeah.
I feel bad for all the parents that aren't used to that, but I do get a little tickled seeing all the tweets of people saying, oh, this homeschooling thing's hard and teachers should make a lot more money. And
she's like, you got to read this one.
And it does my soul good. Yes.
Yeah, all the time. She's like, you got.
It is hard.
She's like, you got to see this. This person. She goes, see, yeah. How easy is this? And I'm like, baby, I never said it was easy. Those people said it was easy. But no, it's super hard when you're not prepared.
Yes, exactly.
And especially
your whole routine's been upended.
Yeah, man, there is so many people right now, and hashtag Bruce Wayne job is considered essential.
Yes.
So I get to go fight the virus every day.
Yes.
And,
we have this ritual of hand sanitizing and spraying him with Lysol when he comes home.
Yeah, you should see how much I hand sanitize.
Which we're almost out of also.
It's ridiculous.
Although I do have a very nice hand sanitizer in a skull head that was given to me by Jeff and Tanya Carter at Scarefest.
Do we?
I have not broke into that yet. I was hiding it.
Oh my God. I got to take that.
I'll have to show
I'm the one that has to go touch groundhogs all the time.
I know, but we do have our reserve of hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I get offended now when people try to shake my hand. And it's really great for me because I've never liked people.
Right.
And I've always been in a job where I have to pretend to like people. So now I'm like, sorry.
No touchy.
6 feet. It's, it's like the perfect world for me. It really is. It's like, oh, hey over there. Yeah. Now if we could just do something where people couldn't stare at you eating or they'd catch it. I could go to restaurants again because it's a little tick I have. It's like, if somebody stares at me when I'm eating, it drives me bananas.
It does.
Bananas. I said that for Travis Molden. But I do want to talk about something serious because people are without their job right now. Things are uncertain. And I put a big post on Facebook, on my personal Facebook about this, but I want to talk about it really quickly. A little out of character for moi. But, there's been a lot of divide in this country for the last few years. I mean, a lot of divide. A lot more than normal. So a lot of things I thought we had gotten past as a humanity, You keep thinking that every year goes by and maybe we're going to be a little bit better to each other. Maybe we're going to be able to look at each other in a different light. We're going to be able to coexist and, live and let live, that type of thing. And then you're woefully let down over and over. So the last few years have been very contentious. Mm-hmm. You've lost a lot of friends on Facebook. Maybe you've low-key blocked them, or you've muted them, or whatever. We live in a social media society. So it's way too easy to speak your opinion, and it's way too easy to turn off opinions you don't like. Now, I honestly think that we shouldn't do that. I think that we should try to have a civil conversation. It's okay to speak your opinion, but maybe, do it in a nice way and listen to other people's opinions. So you'll see me not push my opinions online or on this show as far as politics, religion, what have you, just because I don't like to trigger my friends. And my friends are my friends, as I put on Facebook, for reasons other than their political views. Okay, I don't think I have a single friend that I just was like, oh, hey, you voted like I did. High five. It's just not who I am, okay?
Right.
It's like basing a relationship. Well, no, I can't say that because that worked out well for me. But it's basing it on the wrong thing as far as I'm concerned, because what I've based my friendships on is loyalty, being there for each other, understanding, late night phone calls, liking the same thing. Hammer movies, Hammer movies and 80s music and 90s Seattle and, all kinds of stuff like that. That's my buddies, right? Mm-hmm. Or pro wrestling or what have you.
Right.
Paranormal, that's a given. Mm-hmm. Any kind of paranormal, any kind of UFOs, cryptozoology guys, all of that. That's my friends, and that's what I base it on. So if I see one of these people going off about something, I ignore it. I just ignore it and I go on and hope that it stops. If it doesn't stop day after day after day after day after day, it wears on you. And I do have to, mute people from time to time just to keep myself from being a little bit triggered. And really the triggering for me comes from somebody not stopping their incessant need to fight with other people over things that are never going to, because here's the trick. Guess what's not going to happen? You're not going to change their mind. Mm-hmm. I've yet to see an online argument where somebody about halfway through goes, oh man, you know what? That makes perfect sense. I am a redneck moron. Holy cow. And everybody in my family is probably, incestuous. I mean, you're right. Everything you just ran me down about. And your argument is also correct. I think I'm going to vote differently. I really appreciate you bringing this to my attention.
Thank you for showing me the error of my ways.
It's not going to happen. All right. If somebody is rambunctious enough to throw those things out there, put their middle fingers up and go, hey, I want to fight. Because that's how you fight. Get on there and either talk pro or negative against somebody, and it's going to happen. Well, it's still going on about everything. It started with that, and then somebody got us to talk about race. Somebody got us to talk about economics. Somebody got us talked about immigration. Okay. And, we've got friends all over the world. And, the listeners from all over the world. I love you all. And but it still has no take on my immigration stance, because that shouldn't even be part of a conversation. You're not gonna change someone's mind, is all I'm saying. And we're bleeding as people. We talk about para-unity all the time. We were talking about it in 2010. If I wanted to take credit for it, I probably could. But I just, what we need is unity with each other. We need right now, because this is something we've never faced. Okay, we're currently writing the canon for this. They faced something like it in the 20s. The last time there was 20s. But, they didn't have the same tools we have now. With the tools we have in our box, we should be able to whip this thing's butt. I mean, we could communicate all over the world instantly. We can see how this is going, where it's progressing, what's working, what's not working. Instead of a damn telegram or a horse, well, you're going to have to tell them this works, like some dog sled. We've seen the movies. Mm-hmm. You got to get this to them. It's not like that, folks. We've got satellites now. So we can just let each other know, hey, guess what works? This doesn't work. Okay. And that's what kind of gets me. With all the things we have, if we were putting ourselves together and we were pulling our resources, we could really kick this thing's butt. And we need to, because if you've not been hit yet, you're going to be. You've got the 2-week thing. We've never seen anything like it. I was wrong on it, so I can talk about this. I took it lightly. I took it lightly. It's just the flu. Well, the thing is, the flu shows up in a day. This takes 14 days. So in that 14 days, you're infecting your babies. You're infecting your next door neighbor, which would be fine with me. You're infecting, everybody, right? So it's one of those things where we got to work together. And I think that we need to quit worrying about the differences that we have and start focusing on the things that we have in common. And by focusing on the things we have in common, maybe put some positivity out there. And even in negative times, it's the true sign of leadership is being positive in a negative time. It's really important to me. And I just thought I'd throw that out there. And I also want to throw out, because of the fact that people right now don't have, some of them don't have your jobs, and you feel helpless and you feel hopeless. And if that is happening, we've talked about this before. We put it on our website, but the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, I think that times like this is really important to know there's somebody that'll listen to you and somebody you can talk to. And it's never that bad. And the number on that's 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. We've all been there, and we've been in that dark place. And it's had everything one day and you have nothing the next. I've been there a couple of times, and I was lucky enough to have somebody to talk to. So just throwing that out there, because it means a lot to me, and I care about all of you. I just would hate to lose any listeners for any reason, and that's because you're my friends. But from that, I think I need to lighten it up a little bit. Okay. So the only thing, what can I do to lighten it up, Stacey? I don't know. Okay, tell you what. I don't do this very much, but I do it around the house all the time. So let's lighten the mood with some dad jokes.
Oh, no.
Why did you say
jokes?
Why did you say, oh, no? Wow.
I live with you. Okay, go ahead. Let's hear some dad jokes.
I'll keep them in the theme of paranormal.
Okay, paranormal dad jokes.
Paranormal, and I'll even do 8, because you like the 8 list.
I feel like we should have a theme song for paranormal dad jokes.
I think that was it.
Okay.
Your sarcastic voice with a little drum behind it. And I think we should have a little list with paranormal dad jokes. All right, first paranormal dad joke.
Okay.
How did Scrooge end up with the football?
I have no idea.
The ghost of Christmas past.
Oh my God. This is the point where I find the little groaning sound and put it in here.
Why are ghosts bad at telling lies?
Because you can see right through them.
Oh,
I got that one.
Right here. All right. See? All right, you're 1 and 1.
Okay.
What room does a ghost not need in her house?
What room? I don't know.
The living room.
Oh, that one was silly. I should have got that one. Yes, the living room. Good Lord.
Why didn't the ghost go to the party?
He didn't feel well?
He had no body to go with.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah, that's bad. Okay.
What would you find on a beach near Salem?
Something about a witch. I'm not sure.
A sandwich.
Oh, no.
What subject was the little witch's favorite in school?
Spelling.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Very good. Very good. What instrument did the skeleton play in band?
Oh. That I don't know.
Trombone.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
All right. I got one more.
Okay, one more.
What kind of dog does Dracula prefer?
Dog. I don't know that one.
A bloodhound.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Of course, a bloodhound. Wow.
Come on. Everybody feel a little bit better now.
Dad jokes, yes.
Yeah, I've got them for days. For days. They just come off the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
I've been a dad for a very long time.
I know sometimes you'll hear a dad joke at work and you'll call me just to tell me what it is.
Because they're great. Listen, a good dad joke makes the world go round. It really does. It makes you giggle days from now.
It does.
It's one of those things. My kids have nothing but my wisdom and my jokes and my sarcasm. And they get all of it.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, Ariana, geez Louisa, she is a pun a second just from growing up with me. Mm-hmm. It's like you can't do anything without her being a little smart alecky about it in a good way. But I'm going to give something else in a good way.
Okay.
I read this really cool Mysterious Universe article earlier.
Okay.
And it already had a built-in list.
Oh, I love that website.
So I am going to have to cover this because it's top 5 haunted locations.
Ooh.
At the worst time possible. That's what I liked about the article because it's about traveling.
Right, and you can't go anywhere.
And you can't go anywhere.
Top 5 most paranormal locations that you can't visit right now.
Yeah. So we thought we would bring you right back down, but give you something to look forward to.
So this is as listed by Mysterious Universe website?
Yes, this is paranormal tourism and the top haunted cities in the United States. This is off mysteriousuniverse.org.
Okay.
And it's an article by Paul Seaburn, somebody you don't want to go out on the water with, obviously.
He writes a lot of good stuff for
Yeah, he does. He does. And he talks about the coronavirus. I'm sort of paraphrasing here and how it's affected tourism industry greatly. Mm-hmm. But you can use that unexpected time off, given so many, to think about the celebratory vacation you'll treat your family to once it's over.
Ah, there you go.
And I thought it was a great idea to really, go into this. So the Athos Consulting Group, a global hospitality advisory firm, teamed up with Sharon Hill, an independent researcher in anomalies, paranormal topics, and popular culture, pseudoscience, and society, to produce Paranormal Tourism, market study of a novel and interactive approach to space activation and monetization. Yep, that. A study published this week in the Cornell Hospitality Quarterly. I wonder how many people subscribe to that.
I'm not sure.
The
Hotel managers.
The best part is a listing of the top haunted U.S. cities, which Sharon graciously published on her website. All right, so we're going to start this list. And if I said 5, I lied.
Did you?
Yeah, it's actually 7. So it's 5 bonus 2.
Okay. Well, we'll just go 7 to 1. How's
there
that?
we go.
Okay.
Sounds like the odds of, So number 7. I always expect her to be like Ed McMahon. Number 7. San Francisco, California.
Oh, okay.
I would not have put that in the top 10 if I did this.
Well, I don't know that much about San Francisco. Maybe it's more haunted than you think.
With so much to see, do, eat, and experience in beautiful San Francisco, it's easy to forget it's haunted by ghosts of the eccentric, unusual, and occasionally violent characters the city attracts. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Not to mention the victims of earthquakes and other disasters. Alcatraz is a popular haunted site, but don't forget Angel Island, the Ellis Island of the West, the ghost of Golden Gate Bridge, jumpers.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know they had a problem with that.
I mean,
Do you ever see them?
It's against the law, I'm pretty sure, to jump off
Well, not for the ghost.
bridge. No.
The Presidio and numerous ghost ships sailing the Foggy Bay.
Oh, so you didn't take into account the ghost ships.
Yeah, well, and that bay is, that's one of the reasons for Alcatraz. Shark filled, super cold. The currents are
Dangerous
supposed to
currents,
currents are supposed to be insane. It's really amazing that the ones who did escape Alcatraz, the only ones, were able to do it. Do you think they survived?
I think they probably did.
Supposedly one of the guys sent a letter.
Right.
Not too long ago, and years later,
right,
to the FBI or whatever, which is cool.
Which was nice of him to be like, if you were wondering, made it.
It's a great movie.
It is such a good movie.
If you've never seen Escape from Alcatraz, you really need to go out of your way and make that part of your lockup watching. The next one, number 6, I would put this one higher if it was me, but it's not me. Salem, Massachusetts.
Ah, yes. Lots of haunted stuff there.
The Salem witch hunts are responsible for many ghosts in this early colonial town, but the number of haunted sites far surpasses the number of witches. You've got things like the Salem Inn, Rope's Mansion, the Old Town Hall,
yes,
and the Old Burying Point Cemetery, which is our favorite location in the world.
Love that.
There's just a few of the popular locations that have real ghost appearances. And
so it didn't list the Hawthorne Hotel?
It did not
which
list.
Is where we stay when we're there?
It did not list the Hawthorne, which famously has the top floor haunted, and that's where we request to stay because we're just groovy like that.
It's such a nice hotel.
I will tell you this, though. It's legit.
Yeah.
You could be in that room, okay, any room on the top floor of the Hawthorne, and you're going to feel it. You feel the heaviness. When you're in the cemetery, you feel it's not a heaviness,
right?
But it's an accompaniment.
Well, and another thing about Salem, Massachusetts is people go there for paranormal.
Right.
Like all people show up, witches and pagans, and they have all the shops, and so even though it's already haunted, you've got all these tourists coming and just bringing who knows what with them.
Exactly. And I love the inclusivity of it. You know, that's something about being in Salem. You could be there dressed as a Harry Potter character. You can be dressed as whatever.
Right.
And nobody looks at you twice.
No.
It's one of the only places that we've went out in our full family regalia because we go out looking like the Addams Family. I mean, we all wear black. We all wear a lot of jewelry. We all wear a lot of necklaces and things like that, you know, when we're going out, and the girls are all made up, and it's just kind of creepy probably if you've never experienced a family like ours.
It definitely sticks out around here.
Yeah, it does. It does. We kind of stay incognito around here.
Yes.
Lots of hoodies and baggy pants. But, you know, up there we didn't do that. We were like, hey.
Yeah, well, up there they wouldn't, try to tie you to a stake.
That's true. I mean, yeah. Wow, good point.
Yes. So.
It always goes back to the steak for you, doesn't it?
Well,
And it's because it always went back to the steak for you. So Salem, yeah.
Okay.
Two thumbs up. Coming in at number 5 is San Antonio, Texas. A place I greatly want to visit.
Yes, I'd like to go there. I've never been to Texas.
I've been to Texas, but I really want to go to San Antonio. San Antonio, Texas. Go to San Antonio for the ghost that haunt the Alamo. Stay for the ghost that haunt the other missions. The cathedral, the county jail, the governor's mansion, the Masonic cemetery. Ooh, that sounds cool.
Oh, yeah.
And many more sites. It's like San Antonio is trying to be number 1. Sounds like it.
It does. A few more sites, maybe they make it.
Yeah, I don't know. They've got some stiff competition. Number 4, New Orleans.
Ah, yes, definitely.
New Orleans, Louisiana. One of the places that our show comes on Saturday nights.
I mean, all that voodoo and all those rituals.
SpaceThatRadio.com.
Goodness.
Yeah, voodoo, vampires, and pirates. Arr. Enough said. There's Pirate John Lafitte's Blacksmith Shop Bar. Voodoo Queen, yes, is yours right here. Marie Laveau's Mausoleum.
Yes.
And the dark corners that inspired vampire author Anne Rice to put too many words in her novels.
Oh, my goodness. So many words.
Very
but
small,
they're so good.
Close together. New Orleans has your place that you want to investigate.
Yes, the little Laurie Mansion.
Yeah.
I want to investigate it very
Talk about
badly. It's just one of those stories, from history that's gruesome but mysterious. You don't really know if it's all true or not true, but it's supposed to be a very haunted building right there in the French Quarter.
Yeah.
So, always just dying to get in there.
And on this next one, a little shout out to my son Will, who is a resident of Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Chicago's equivalent of the Civil War is its violent gangster period caused by Prohibition. Stay at the Congress Plaza Hotel with the ghost of Al Capone. Because Al Capone's one of those ghosts that just spends his time in like 7 different places.
I'm telling you, he's everywhere.
He's in Johnson City. He's in prison. I mean, he's absolutely the most busy ghost I've ever seen.
He really is.
Or see the ghost of some of his victims at the site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Wow. I can imagine Chicago being pretty haunted considering there's been a lot of death there. Chicago's
also loaded with haunted sites from fires, ships, other disasters. You know, I believe that would be ship sinking. I don't know if just having ships.
Just having ships.
Oh, God, there's another ship.
It's probably not just a qualifying factor.
Margaret, look at that. 20 ghosts getting right on the thing. Every time. But yeah, it's definitely one of those places that, you know, we've had people before, guests on our old show that did Chicago Haunted Tours.
Yes.
And some pretty cool stuff. The next one, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
I had a feeling this one was going to be on the list.
Absolutely. How could you not be on the list?
How could you not have Gettysburg on there?
One of the most haunted places in the United States by far. You know, the battlefield is a warehouse of spirits. I like how he said that spill over into the city itself, which has numerous haunted walking tours to ghostly sites at Gettysburg College. Look for the Lone Sentinel and the Jenny Wade House. You know whose ghost to look for there.
Right.
Yeah. From everything, I'd say one of the best commercials for Gettysburg for people going there for paranormal has to be that footage that was caught like 15 years ago, where the people were on, you know, there's tourists and they caught the soldiers.
Right.
And they were in the distance right at the tree line and they were walking up and then they turned back and go up the hill, but there's no hill there anymore.
Right.
It was like in the trees.
Yeah, and they were like just walking through trees.
And you could see a whole battalion. I mean, it was so cool. I had some friends at a local Civil War thing to where we live here. And it was actually in Johnson City. And a whole group of them, I'm talking maybe 12 to 15 friends, they all witnessed the same thing. They were out there. They shouldn't have been out there at night, but they were out at this Civil War place at night, drinking, having fun. And they started hearing marching. And they heard the drums. And then they saw the ghost. And they all experienced this. And I mean, some of these dudes are the most straight-laced hombres you would ever meet. They would never lead you on. In fact, some of these guys would have told on the other ones just because that's the way they are. Right. But they were all the same story. They were all like, we were just having fun. And then you just hear the, you know, I mean, what do you do, right? Just sort of be quiet, man.
Yeah, and wait till it's done.
Man, I'd be like Frodo Baggins. I'd be down there like underneath the brush, you know, waiting for the riders to go by. Right. Sam, put your fat face out there and check. Yes, master. What did he call him?
Right away, Mr. Frodo.
Oh,
calls him Mr. Frodo.
He does.
Because he loves him.
You want to have a little like Hobbit dress up thing here in a minute?
No, I don't think I want to.
You never shipped them?
No, not really.
You know Frodo and Sam. I mean, come on.
I mean, they love each other. They're friends.
Yeah. They're friends. It gets really lonely up there. It's a lonely mountain.
That trip to Mordor.
It's a long road to Mordor. Yeah. So number one. You ready for numero uno?
I'm ready for number one.
Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Savannah has experienced the American Civil War, slavery, and deadly epidemics. Also, they've had disasters there. Everything, because I mean it's right.
I'm pretty sure they have ships too.
Yeah, they've had goddamn shipping. So it's no wonder there are many haunted places to visit. Great haunted hotels to stay include the Hamilton Turner Inn, where you can look for a ghostly cigar smoking man on the roof, and the Marshall House, listen for children you can't see, followed by dinner at the Pirate's House, where the pirate haunts.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
But I mean, there's so much stuff there. There's non-stop haunted tours. My buddy Steve goes there like twice a year just to enjoy stuff. Between there and Charleston.
Yeah.
You know, both are haunted as poo. I think there's more people buried at Savannah, isn't that right? Like,
I think something like that.
Something crazy. And they don't even know. I think they're buried under the street and everything. It's just like
they don't even know anymore.
Now it's a beautiful place too. That's the cool thing about a vacation there, is you can do it under the guise of a paranormal hunt. Right. But you're actually going to have some really good food and enjoy the scenery, right?
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah. Your little Mainer came out right there.
Was it?
Yeah. You're like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's supposed to be beautiful. Oops. Tom Brady's gone. Damn it, Tom.
What are all those people going to do? All those Patriots fans now that Brady's gone.
Move to Florida? I don't know. Isn't that what all Mainers do? I don't know why they were so surprised.
Really, that's true.
It's like
That's
Tom's
true.
retiring.
Oh, it's time to go to Florida.
Yeah, he's like, well, how do I get to Florida and have it paid for? I know. I could join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They'll pay me. So I don't think even that many people wanted him, which is crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He could have went to the Dolphins. I mean, that would have been even further down to Florida, and they could have used him probably.
Maybe.
But yeah, that was my top 5 plus 2 bonus.
Yes, it was a good list.
Did you like that?
I did.
I didn't write it.
No, I know.
It was a good
We
list.
We gave credit.
Thank you, Mysterious Universe, for making my list simple this week, even though
Yes.
I don't agree with any of it. I mean, come on. I agree with Savannah.
Yes, and Salem.
No,
Although it should have been higher.
Just not the placement.
Yeah, it should have been higher.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, we love a good list. And for everything, listy, you know what you do?
What do you do?
You go to ParanormalSideshow.com. That's where you find all your list. On Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. A little bit of listio. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97, where they got some naughty list. On Instagram, Hot Listy Damn, it's John and Stacey Edwards. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find John and Stacey live and in person every Saturday night. It's at midnight, 12:05 if you're on the East Coast. If you're on the West Coast, that would be 9 o'clock for those of you that can't do math. And, even up in British Columbia, wherever you are, of course, it's all over the world on the internet, but we also have some terrestrial, not the ET kind, but,
Right,
it just means actual radio stations you can listen to, including down in New Orleans, like we were talking about just a second ago. So, yeah, check us out. We have a guest every week. We just had Tim Woolworth this past week with a fantastic interview.
Oh, so good.
And if you haven't listened, shame, we know your name. You need to go find it. I mean, you could find it on like iTunes. You could find it on YouTube, the Spaced Out Radio YouTube. It's got all kinds of goodies on there, including our interviews. It's Spaced Out Saturday is something you really need to start checking out because there's chat rooms. We follow the tags on
we chat.
Yeah, we chat in the chat room. We follow the tags on the Twitter. And for the Spaced Out Radio account. So definitely hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Saturday night. Just go there, and like I said, midnight on the East Coast. Stay up late with it. It's a 3-hour show. A lot of fun, live every single week. We don't miss a single week.
Yes, and we don't do news on that show, but we do have a cool little segment at the end after the interview, and it's called There's Something Strange About This Week. And we talk about things that happened in the past, at that period of time.
Yeah, for the coming week.
For the coming week.
All the stuff to look forward to.
Yes.
So, and we have a killer guest every week. This coming week, we have friend of the Sideshow, Alan Marston, to join us. And after that, we're going to have Ross Allison, writer of many a book.
Yes.
So, a lot of fun stuff coming up and some big guests even after that. But, speaking of big, Patreon.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That's the place to make sure Stacey gets to eat food through the rest of this pandemic. We want to make sure that poor Stacey eats. Have you seen her ribs? I have. And they're sticking out, folks. You can even see her hip bones. And they hurt. So if you want to save me, a little bit of Patreon. No, we love our patrons. Absolutely. We appreciate it. We pay for a lot of bandwidth. We just upgraded the studio. We've got the big boom mics hanging down here and all this good stuff. And because we had to. We have to upgrade, keep up with the times, all this good stuff, especially with going to Spaced Out Radio. We do that from the same studio. And in order to do that, we have to sound, as good as we can.
Right. So
we do that. And it really helps us. Every bit of it goes right back into everything, or just like the giving out books at a lecture,
Right.
It's we do some crazy stuff, but we really appreciate it. And speaking of that, I have 2 shout outs I want to give this week to new patrons.
All righty, let's do it.
One of those new patrons is Jessica Potter.
Yes.
So hi, Jessica.
Hi, thank you.
Any relation to Harry? Can I say that, or is that like one of those things where she's like, if
nobody's going to answer you, you can ask.
She's like, I've never heard that. And we also want to give a big shout out to our good friend, Jessica Walker.
Yes, there you go.
And I won't make any kind of Texas Ranger thing about that. I won't say Jessica Sky Walker. Because
you'll leave all the jokes behind.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Good
JJ Walker.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you for not doing any of
I
those.
would not do that. And it's kind of cool. We got 2 Jessicas on the same week. It's like the J&J connection.
Right.
Wouldn't it be cool if it was the same person?
It would be. It'd be weird.
Yeah. And they were just like, you know what? I'm gonna really mess with them. See which one they like better.
There you go.
Do they like Walker or Potter?
Clearly, we like them both because you can make jokes about both of them.
Well, I make jokes about people I like.
Yeah, that's true. You do.
If I don't like you, I'm never going to joke about you. Right now, there's somebody out there going, oh my God. What's wrong, honey? He's never joked about me. Not a single time. I even left it open for him. Oh my God. Yeah, so yeah, you're probably right.
Don't worry, we're joking about you on the inside. It's fine.
Yeah, hope. You better hope. But yeah, thank you so much, Jessica. It's we really appreciate it. And yes, there is a little inside joke to all this, but Jessica will absolutely get it. Mm-hmm. So, but we love you guys and we appreciate it. And speaking of love, it's about time for my lovely wife and some paranormal news. She's the GOAT of paranormal news, traveling the globe to find you the stories you didn't know you needed to hear, and the stories she knows you'll never forget. It's time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Let's.
Okay, so this first story that we're going to start with is about cattle mutilation.
Oh, no.
Now, you remember the odd story from last year about the 5 bulls that were mutilated on that Sylvie's Valley Ranch, right?
Yeah, the really weird story that kept coming back all year long.
Right. So I have this other story, and this is so odd. This story just came out, even though it happened back in September of 2019, right around the same time that those other cows were mutilated.
Oh, my God.
Only this was about 100 miles away, but still in Oregon. And so this is a story about rancher Stephen Roth. And it just claims that even though this happened in September 2019, the records have just recently been released on the case. But what happened on his ranch was that on September 18th, one of his ranch hands found a slain cow, and she was missing her udder, genitals, tongue, blood, and heart.
Oh, my God.
And he said that his ranch hand was out checking the water troughs, and he had been out the day before and saw the cow. She was within a couple hundred yards of that water trough. And supposedly this area where the cow was, it takes about an hour to drive there over a rough road, even if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. And according to his wife, there's only like 5 ranches for about 60 miles between their place and Bend, Oregon. Very rural, not a lot of people, big, huge, like 87,000 acres, just huge place. So when he found his slain bull, he knew that the Harney County Sheriff's Office were investigating the other killings, on the Sylvie's Valley Ranch, the ones we talked about before. So he called them because he wanted them to come and take a look at his. But he is out of their jurisdiction, so they were not able to come out. So he also called his nearby counties, the cops in his nearby counties. He called Oregon State Patrol, but nobody would respond. No one would come out. And he really wanted forensic testing to see if the bull had been poisoned or darted. There was no bullet holes in the hide, so it was really, he just had no idea what had happened. So they told him that he could hire a vet to come out, but it was already starting to get dark, and he didn't really want to be out there with no guns, with a vet. So he waited until the next day, and a deputy did come out the next day to inspect the animal, but it was too late to, take any kind of samples or anything like that. They did claim that they began an investigation, and the mutilation included the heart and the tongue, the udder, the vagina, the butt. Everything was cut from the cow. There was no suspect information. There was no clue as to what could have done it. So Stephen Roth decided to invite over a friend of his, a longtime friend. His name was Gary Bishop, and he served in the U.S. Air Force as in a tactical reconnaissance unit. So he's like a tracker, and he wanted him to come out and kind of look and see if he could see any clues as to maybe what happened. So Gary Bishop, when he came out, he just claimed that the scene was incredibly strange. He said it was obvious that an animal didn't do it, that, whoever did it relied on the fact that they were so rural that they couldn't get to the animal to a vet for a forensic exam fast enough for it to make a difference. And he said that the killer was extremely efficient and very good at what they were doing. He claimed that to be able to cut through skin and hide without getting into the belly takes a lot of skill and precision. And kind of creeped him out a little bit that it takes a pretty sick person to do something like that. And it obviously wasn't an animal, because no animal can cut the skin out like that without, digging into the belly. So they did list some of the most disturbing parts of this killing. One of them was the number on the cow's yellow plastic ear tag. The number was 1313. And she was found a few days after Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Because there was a Friday the 13th that month. And there were no distinguishable foot, truck, or ATV prints, no other clues nearby. And the cow was found like near the water troughs, not out in the middle of nowhere, it was near a location. And the one other detail that was strange is that one of the people that saw the cow touched it and got really sick after he touched it. He was throwing up. He said, we don't know if he got a flu bug or ate something or anything like that, but it was really coincidental that he went out there, he looked at the cow, touched her, and then that night he was sick, and nobody else on the ranch got sick, only him, and he's the only one that touched the cow.
Wow.
So a lot of weird stuff. There's still no explanation for this one, but I thought it was really strange that it happened very close to that other event that we did hear about, and how odd all of those things are around it,
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's really strange. And it's strange for a few reasons. One of the main reasons this is strange is because the other story that happened out there that we were referring to, it happened like earlier on, and we did the story.
Right.
Okay. So when we do a story, we get into it. We look for other reasons. We look for any other alternate news articles, anything we could find.
Right.
We don't like to put hogwash on here. So, this came and when I find a lot of the news for Stacey. Now, when I find it, I don't read the articles, just like I promise I don't. And I'll see a really cool headline or something, and I'll send it to her, and she has to go through it and see if that's for the show or not. And she finds a lot of the news herself, or people send it to her. And just telling you this to build this story. So I found one that said cattle mutilation. I was like, oh, wow, this is, like a month later. So I send it to her because we always do cattle mutilation stories. And, she's like, hey, honey, that's the same one that had happened. I was like, wow, I can't believe that's it was like a reputable, like CNN or Fox News, something.
Right.
So about a month later again, something like the Post or the Times, there was the story again. And she's like, baby, it's the same story. I'm like, are you serious? And I swear to God, it happened like 2 more times. Yeah,
and there wasn't any new, it wasn't like an update with new information.
It was rehashed story.
Yeah, and then just saying nobody has any idea what this could be. And so now there's this other one in Oregon too that nobody can explain, that hasn't really gotten that much press. But of course, it did just come out.
It almost makes me think that they wanted to see if there was any leads just from doing a similar story in that area. Like, hey, let's put this one out again and see if there's any leads because there's more than this. I mean, since this one just came out, how do we know there's not a flap? How do we know there's not?
I mean, you don't know.
Maybe they haven't told us yet about the other ones.
Right. And since the ranches are so spread out, they may not know, especially if different sheriff's departments are dealing with them. Maybe they don't talk to each other about that stuff.
Give us a contact. If you are listening and you have information on a cattle mutilation that has happened in the past year, we're working on a story outside of this podcast. It'd be great to let us know. And that would really go with the story that we're working on. So just something, any kind of information like that, you'll stay completely anonymous. We won't even do the story on here if you don't want us to.
Right.
So just something we're working on. It'd be really cool to get the information.
All right. So I don't know if that's going to have an update or not. I guess we'll see.
Great story.
All right, so let's move on. Let's do a story about the Foo Fighters.
Oh, yeah, about the concert that got canceled for us.
No, not canceled. Postponed.
Sorry.
Although they have not announced the date for ours. They've announced the date for some of their concerts on that tour, but they haven't announced the date for ours yet. But we will still get to go, at some point next winter, I think. So this is a story about how ghosts nearly ruined the Foo Fighters' 10th album.
Oh, wow.
And this was an article in Rolling Stone magazine. So it's really interesting. They were doing an interview with Dave Grohl, and he was talking about how the house that they rented in Encino, California, is where they recorded the album, but that it was absolutely haunted and it really interfered with their recording. He said that when they first walked into the house in Encino, that he knew that the vibes were definitely off, but the sound was on. They started working there, and he said it wasn't long before things started happening. Like, they would leave and come back to the studio the next day and all of the guitars would be detuned. Or, you'll like this one, the settings on the board would be gone. They'd all be back to zero. And he said they would open up Pro Tools session and tracks would be missing. And sometimes there would be tracks on there that they didn't put on there. Just weird stuff, yeah. And then he said sometimes there'd be weird open mic noises, you know, because like they'd just have the mic on and they wouldn't be doing anything. There would just be these weird voices. And so they started listening to him, and he said they didn't hear any voices or anything really decipherable, but that something was going on. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't voices there. If they're not used to listening to that kind of stuff, you know, they may not have heard anything, but they did hear something going on. Right. So he said that they attempted to document the paranormal phenomena with a Nest Cam. You know, one of those,
God.
You know, like we were talking about doing.
Yeah, that's what we're getting.
To take a video of the studio when they weren't there. And he said they started to see things on the Nest Cam that they couldn't explain. So they took it to the homeowner, who detailed the house's illustrious past. But Dave Grohl didn't say what he found out, because the owner made them sign a non-disclosure agreement after he told them about what the past was, because the landlord's trying to sell the house. So they're not allowed to tell what's going on there.
So they can't tell where the house is?
Yeah, like they couldn't tell anything about the past or, you know, anything that happened, any of that stuff. So he said they can't give away what happened there in the past, but all of those things that happened to them over that short period of time made them finish the album as quickly as they could and, you know, get out of there. They just wanted to get the recording finished and get out of there. And he said that something cool about the album, though, is that one of the songs on the album features a riff that he'd been refining for the last 25 years. He said the first time he demoed it was in his basement in Seattle.
Oh, my God.
So it's something he's been working on this whole time, and he finally put it in one of his songs.
Now, this is on the album that's coming out?
Mm-hmm. I don't think they've given an actual release date for the new album.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be sometime in May.
Well, they've been putting out this cool little singles, though.
They have.
And it looks like those dates on the front are just like, you know, for the year like 05 and 95 and
it does kind of look like, because it's just a row of numbers, so it looks kind of like a date, and then with 25 at the end for their 25th anniversary.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yes. Well, this article also notes other bands that infamously wrote their albums in, you know, like supernatural circumstances.
Let's see, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin.
They mentioned Black Sabbath writing the 1973 album Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath in a haunted castle. And the Red Hot Chili Peppers encountered ghosts at a building dubbed The Mansion while making Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Great album.
9 Inch Nails cut the downward spiral in the home where Sharon Tate lived at the time of the Manson massacre.
Yep.
And Radiohead worked on OK Computer in a house Tom York described as very haunted.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones they mentioned. I'm sure there's been more.
Oh, yeah. Or some bands haunted the place themselves.
That's right. In the process, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's talk about a discovery. So this is a discovery by a team of archaeologists in Russia, and they have found a mysterious bone circle made from the remains of mammoths.
Ooh.
I mean, from the Ice Age.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that awesome?
It is, yeah.
So this remarkable discovery was reportedly made near the village of Kostenki in the Russia plains.
Right outside of Fortitude.
It's a circular site. It's believed to be around 20,000 years old. It measures 30 feet by 30 feet, and the walls of the structure were constructed out of 64 skulls from the iconic pachyderms, as well as 51 lower jawbones.
Wow.
And although they say around 70 similar sites have been found in like Russia and Ukraine in the past, this is the first time evidence of human activity was discovered in the domicile.
What do they think happened before? That the mammoths did it? Like one crazy mammoth?
Not sure.
You know?
Got mad at his whole pack and just like built a thing out of it.
Did you see his mammoth penis necklace he wore?
So, specifically, it contained charred wood and soft plant material. And so they argue that it seems to indicate that people living in the area were able to forage for food despite the harsh conditions of the time. So that sort of sheds a new light on the purpose of the sites, because I guess before they had no idea what these particular sites were for. But how awesome. And there are pictures and you can see it. And it's like really cool with all the different bones and stuff. It's kind of creepy too.
I can't believe it took them that long to find it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's really cold and,
I don't care. I mean, it's still kind of wacky that you still find things like that.
It is. It's crazy that people lived in that environment, in that climate, and were able to find, food and make their shelter. And how long would it take to make that, by the way? Have that many 64 skulls of mammoths? I mean, that takes a long time.
That's why there's no mammoths. It could have been an afternoon. I mean, we're talking Russians here,
All right, well, let's talk about another discovery. And this is about an ancient Maya kingdom that was unearthed in a backyard in Mexico.
Of course it was.
Ay, caramba.
So, Associate Professor of Anthropology, his name is Charles Golden, and his colleagues have found the long-lost capital of an ancient Maya kingdom in the backyard of a Mexican cattle rancher. And the way they found it is it's kind of a funny story. So this was back in June of 2014. And there was a student from the University of Pennsylvania who was working with Charles Golden at the time. He was driving around the area looking at archaeological digs. And toward the end of his stay, there was a man selling carnitas on the side of the highway. And he started waving at him as he rode by. But he just thought that he wanted him to buy his food, and he's a vegetarian, so he didn't stop. He just kept going. So finally, one day before he departed from Mexico, he decided he was just going to stop because the guy waved at him every day.
Right.
So he decided he was going to stop. He pulled over, and instead of the man wanting to sell him food, he told him that he had a friend that had discovered an ancient stone tablet. And he knew that he was doing that kind of research in the area and that he was interested in the Maya and would he like to see it. So he was like, sure, we'll go over tomorrow.
Well, too bad, because you could have stopped like 4 years ago. I already gave it to that other guy.
So the next day, him and another grad student met with the vendor's friend, who was a cattle rancher, and confirmed the tablet's authenticity. So then he passed the word on to this professor, Charles Golden, but then it took another 5 years to negotiate permission to excavate the property, because apparently in Mexico, cultural things like Maya sites are considered the property of the state. And so the rancher was really worried that his land might be confiscated by the government if they found something, really extensive. Mm-hmm. So they worked with him, they worked with government officials to make sure that he would not lose his land regardless of what they found. So finally they did get the permission, and as they were digging, they found a trove of Maya monuments, one of which has an important inscription describing rituals, battles, a mythical water serpent, and the dance of a rain god. They also found remnants of pyramids, a royal palace, and a ball courts.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? All on this rancher's land.
It's always on a rancher's land. Göbekli Tepe was on a rancher's land. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always a rancher's land. It's Roswell, I mean, all this,
Right. And they believe, now the researchers believe that this particular archaeological site is the capital of the Sakzi Kingdom.
Ah, Sakzi Kingdom.
Yes, and they've been looking for evidence of it since 1994 when they first identified references to it in inscriptions found in like other Maya excavation sites. And they say that it's a major advance in their understanding of ancient Maya politics and culture. Like, it's a huge piece of the puzzle. So they're super excited, and to think that they almost didn't find it because that guy's a vegetarian and wasn't going to stop for the vendor. But thank goodness he did.
I think it's a sign. Mm-hmm. He needs to eat meat.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's what it's. The universe is telling you need to eat whatever that guy was selling.
You find more stuff.
All right, let's move on. So here's another story from Mexico. While we're talking about Mexico, this is about the chupacabra.
Ah.
Or a possible chupacabra, just reviving the legend of the chupacabra. So apparently there was the Yucatan Times had a headline.
The Yucatan Times.
They used this headline to report the death of this 56-year-old taxi driver, and apparently they said that this attack revived the legend of the chupacabra because nobody knows how this man was killed. They know that it was a large animal, a carnivorous animal, because they have, his body. He has no impact from firearms, no injuries from a sharp instrument, no strangulation. It's
They're
just
like,
that he
what could it
has
be?
bites and tissue tearing due to what appears to be claws.
If it's not a firearm or a strangulation, what? We don't have anything else around. Anybody ever seen a death here that doesn't have firearms or strangulation involved?
So supposedly the taxi driver went out to check on a property he owned, and when he didn't come back, the family members went looking for him, and at first they found his shredded sweatshirt, and so they left to get more help and to get some lights because it was getting dark, and eventually they found him. And they claim that the wounds do not resemble those made by like a dog or even a pack of dogs, and that the claw marks were said to be 7 centimeters deep, which is about 2 3/4 inches. And they say that he's probably killed by a dog pack, but his family kind of rejected that. They're like, that doesn't really look like it. The wounds are too deep, and they feel like it's something much larger. And so the mayor was really concerned that it was some sort of escaped big cat or other carnivorous or dangerous animals, that they closed the schools in a lot of different areas while they searched for some kind of, wild animal that could have done this. And so I don't think that there's even still an explanation for it, but supposedly this newspaper, when they put the story out, they did a whole piece on chupacabra along with it because, people were like,
Wouldn't it be, how were the people again?
like
Would
that.
it be smarter to keep the children in school?
I mean, you would think all in one place where you could watch them.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, oh, children, you're out of school for this chupacabra. Just go outside and play today, please. But, Mommy, the chupacabra. Chupacabras don't eat children. They eat taxi drivers.
That's it. So, I don't know. It's an odd thing either way, even if it was a big cat.
Yeah, I mean, the legend's been around forever and a day.
It has.
There's been a lot of sightings. It's one of those cryptids, though, that, I mean, I'm not as shocked about a chupacabra as I would be, some of the other ones that are out there.
Right.
And I don't know, man. It's kind of cool. There's been some video of alleged chupacabras. Then there's been dogs that they've stuck crazy tails on and, stuff like that.
Well, and also then they have those animals and they give them the mange.
Yeah.
And then they're like, look, chupacabra.
And they keep them in a cage for like a year. And it's some poor little sick like raccoon or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's been a little bit of everything. But, nonetheless, it is something that they fear down there. And we had a lot of vampirism stories, not too long ago, maybe a year and a half ago, a year ago. And it was all, kind of in that area. So something's doing it, right?
Mm-hmm. There's something weird going on.
Something weird's going on.
Well, speaking of strange cryptid monsters, I have decided finally to relent to your request to do some stories from one of your favorite websites.
Penthouse?
No.
Oh.
Paranormal website.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
No, Phantoms and Monsters.
Yes, I love some Phantoms and Monsters.
Yes, and so these next couple of stories are not technically news stories, but they are eyewitness accounts that have been added to the website Phantoms and Monsters, which is an awesome website.
Yeah, and I read a lot of websites a lot of times, and this is one of the ones I peruse quite often. So, good stuff. I love eyewitness accounts, and I think that is the news.
It is.
It should be in the damn news.
For paranormal. So this first one is about a Bigfoot in New Mexico.
Yes.
And so this account came from one of the readers in South Central New Mexico, and they're talking about how something has been knocking on their door from around 11:30 at night to 2 a.m., maybe once a week. And at first they thought, they had been reading the website and they had been reading stuff about black-eyed kids and things like that. And so they didn't open the door because they're smart. So the next morning, after one of these knocking incidences, they went outside and found that someone had urinated on the glass door, as weird as that is. And so they cleaned it off, and then something would come back and do it again. And he said whatever's doing it has to stand pretty far off the ground. Like it's not like a dog, really low. And he says that his neighbor also has the same problem, and they started comparing notes of this thing that comes around, and one of the things that they note about it is that it smells terrible. Smells like a wet skunk, which is, I think, the typical smell for like a Bigfoot.
I already know what
animal.
happened. Esmeralda there has been knocking boots when Gomez goes to sleep, and he woke up one night when old Juan Don was out there knocking on the door with his wang wang.
Well, he says that the knocking is really annoying, and it makes his dogs go crazy. And he said that they decided to experiment.
I'd like to talk to you about Jesus Christ.
About Bigfoot Jesus. They decided to experiment. So he had his neighbor.
Bigfoot Jesus.
He had his neighbor come over at a random time and knock on the door, like in different areas on the door, and the dogs would bark, but they wouldn't like bark aggressively and lunge at the door.
They know better.
Only when this particular thing comes around do they get, antagonized like that.
Right.
So he also claims that he was having a garage sale, and so he had been collecting some things for a garage sale, and they put out all these like Christmas wreaths and stuff to sell that they had, some of his mother's stuff. And that night, the Bigfoot, they're calling him Harry. He came around and knocked on the door and prowled around a little bit, and he started messaging his neighbor, who said that she could smell him. And they both could smell that nasty smell. And so it lasted for about an hour. And when
no wonder the poor guy don't ever show himself. He like reads these reports.
I know. He's like,
I can't help it.
So the next morning, because he didn't go outside, clearly. So next morning, he went to go put some things back out for the garage sale, because it was a multi-day thing. And whenever he got to where the wreaths were, one or two of them had the odor on them. Of this, what they called Harry, and figured that he'd been snooping around the carport, touching some stuff, and he claimed that if it had been a skunk, everything would stink. But it wasn't everything. It was just certain things that were well off the ground, and it had his lingering odor on it. And it was funny that the things that he was touching were like artificial greenery and things like that, like things maybe he wanted to know what it felt like.
Right.
And so his mother, who's still living, she's 85, he told her about it, and she thought it was so exciting, and that it proved that Bigfoot was an intelligent being. And
she
not
was just
animal.
excited because she's like,
How far up is this little pecker? Is he peeing on the wall? Oh my goodness.
So very crazy. And it's crazy that him and his neighbor are having the same type of experience, and that it happens over and over with that nasty odor and the knocking.
no, it's great.
Yeah, so really interesting sort of eyewitness account for Bigfoot in New Mexico. It's weird that it's something that's coming to his house and not just something out in the woods.
Yeah, black-eyed Bigfoot. It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Could you let me in, please?
Well, some of the other recent accounts that I saw in there that I thought were really interesting were more of humanoid type sightings. And all of these reports come from Illinois. Which is very, very strange.
Well, there's been so many Mothman sightings and stuff. It's apparently, supposedly, allegedly, in Chicagoland area, which I never really jumped on because it was all from the same dude.
Right.
That had his own website and stuff. I'm like,
Well, this is a little different. And this first account comes from, now they don't use names, like people's names. That's why I'm not giving an actual name. But this came from a woman who called in and spoke to the person that does this website over the phone. And this particular incident actually happened right at the end of last year in December 2019. And she was traveling south near Hoffman Estates in Illinois, just sort of northeast of this forest preserve in Cook County. And it was about 4:30 to 5 p.m. local time. There's still plenty of light available. And the witness was driving home from work and noticed what at first she thought was a small plane kind of gliding over the treetops of the preserve. So she didn't really think much about it, even though the plane was flying kind of low. That's why she noticed it at first. It was a little unusual, but it wasn't anything too out of the ordinary. But then she said the wings began to flap slowly. And then she was shocked at the size of it, considering that it had wings. She thought, wow, that's pretty big for, a bird. And she stated that it was dark or black in color and that it had a humanoid shaped body. And she was unable to see the head, but she described the overall shape as like a flying gargoyle. And that is a very common description for these kinds of creatures. She said the wingspan was quite wide, which is why she thought it was a plane to begin with. And she was unable to make out like the structure of the wings, but that she observed it for 20 to 30 seconds before it descended into the trees. And at first she thought about going into the preserve to investigate it, but then she changed her mind because she was like, what am I going to do if I find it? What? I don't know where to go from there. So she went home and she started searching online, kind of doing a little research of what maybe she saw. And she discovered that there had been a few sightings reported in the general area of the same type of thing. In particular, back in October of 2019, there was like a humanoid owl kind of in that same area. And then there was also a report of a bat-like cryptid in September of last year. And so after she read a couple of these other reports of this in the same area, that's when she decided to contact the website and, give her sighting. And the person that does the website claimed that she was very straightforward, very lucid, very believable. So very cool sighting, especially since there had been the other sightings in that area.
Oh yeah. No, it's very cool.
And so there's this other very recent report. This is just from February of this year, and this is from O'Hare International Airport in Chicago, so still in Illinois. And this is a report from a security guard the security officer that works at the airport. And so I believe he said this was on February 21st, and he works, as a security guard, and he was on duty, and he was assigned to do routine escorts for trucks that were coming in and out of the airport. And he said that many of the trucks are there to deliver cargo that's going out on planes, and they're required to have an escort to and from their drop-offs. So he was doing one such kind of escort about 10 o'clock at night. And he had escorted the truck to the unloading facility at the post office and was waiting to be, for it to be unloaded. And he stepped out of his vehicle to just have a smoke, while he was waiting. And he saw something move out of the corner of his eye near the fence. So he decided to go see because he was afraid someone was trying to climb over the fence and get into the airport. Because they had a few incidents, of people coming onto airport grounds, either just sit and watch the airplanes or just trespass in general. So he went over there because they were told whenever they found people like that to escort them off the grounds. And so he went over there, and when he got over there, he thought he was just going to come up against, a person trying to get in. But when he got there, he saw that whatever it was wasn't human, that it looked like a very tall human, but it was solid black with glowing red eyes and had a pair of wings that were outstretched. And he said they must have measured at least 10 feet from tip to tip. So he got out of his car and shined his flashlight at it. And the thing screeched out loud. And he said it sounded like the brakes on a train, loud and very high pitched. And it turned its back to him and flew straight up into the sky and took off like a bullet. He said he could see it as it took off, and its wings were flapping until it faded into the night. And he even heard it screech again. And before he knew it, it was gone. He couldn't see it anymore. So he drove back to where he was before, waiting on the people to unload the truck. And he told the people there at the dock, and they said that people had seen it at least a few times. Like they weren't surprised at all. So he waited there, until the truck was ready. He escorted it back, and then he reported it to his supervisor what he had seen. And his supervisor told him it was probably just a very large owl. And he did tell him to be careful in the future when he was out at night. So he thought that was pretty odd. It's probably just an owl, but be careful when you're out at night. So he knows, of course, it was not an owl, but whatever it was scared him to death, and he didn't want his actual employment mentioned, like who exactly he worked for or his name or anything, because, he didn't want people at work to make fun of him.
No. Hey, look, it's Owl Man.
Yeah, exactly. But what an amazing, and I thought it was so interesting that when he went back to tell the people that work there all the time, they were like, yeah, people see that.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a thing. It's a thing. So
this is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to go back to work after seeing something like that and hearing it screech.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the website that we're getting this off of, the person who owns the website, just give some credit here. It's Lon Strickler. It's a friend of mine on Facebook. He's got some other cool people on his Facebook.
Yes.
Like,
Well, he does a really good job. He keeps it up really well. It's very exciting and interesting to read.
He's also a host of Arcane Radio.
There you are. Give him a little plug.
There you go, Lon. I gave you some love, man.
All right, so just a couple of cool stories from that website. We'd probably do a few more of those next time too, because they're really interesting. And if you want to read more of those, you can get lost,
man. It's a rabbit hole, I'm telling you.
It is. All right, so let's go on to this next story, and this is about a black rain that fell over Japan.
Black rain. It just sounds like a 80s metal song.
So this happened back on March 2nd. And it's just like it sounds. There was puddles of black where black rain had fallen, and it sparked a bunch of strange conspiracy theories on social media. People claiming that it was the result of mass cremations and coronavirus victims.
Oh my goodness.
And they were afraid that was what was happening, and that's why it was raining black. However, I do believe that someone claims that there was a fire at a plastic factory. And that was probably the reason, but nobody really knows. Of course, they're going to say
that. The old fire at the plastic factory excuse.
So I don't know. People were understandably concerned because black rain is weird.
Well, yeah.
And that's the same kind of rainfall that they saw after bomb attacks.
Oh.
So it did the black rain. So it's definitely something.
Oh my God! Like Hiroshima.
Yeah, in Nagasaki.
Oh, it rained the people?
Well, no, it just did a black rain. But the city officials said they measured the radiation levels and there was nothing out of the ordinary. Like they made sure it wasn't, any kind of radiation or anything. But yeah, I mean, that would understandably make you a little bit nervous, don't you think?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently that was one of the conspiracy theories, pollution, nuclear fallout, mass cremation.
Well, we could probably put nuclear fallout out of it since there was no nukes.
Hopefully it is just the fire at the plastic factory. That must smell terrible. What? A fire at a plastic factory.
I don't know. It probably doesn't smell bad as Bigfoot.
No, probably not. It wouldn't smell as bad as a fire at like a tire factory. That'd be terrible.
No, tire factory wouldn't be quite as bad as a plastic factory.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think most things could be as bad as a plastic factory. That would be horrendous.
It would.
And it would give you a headache.
Yes. Ugh. All right, so let me just give you a few more stories here to end our news on. These little cute, interesting ones we put at the end. So this first story is about a cool movie that's coming out about the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, I'm sold already.
And supposedly this Bermuda Triangle movie is going to be directed by Scott Derrickson, who did Doctor Strange. And supposedly it's going to star Chris Evans.
Ooh.
Captain America himself. So originally, now this movie has been batted around quite a bit. And originally, the movie was set to be directed by Sam Raimi.
Oh.
And it was going to star Ryan Reynolds, which I think would have been much cooler.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Because they're some of my favorites. But this new director supposedly is going to rework the script. And they don't really know what it's going to be like when he does it. But it claims that when Sam Raimi was going to do it, the plot synopsis was that there was a submarine carrying nuclear weapons that goes missing in the Bermuda Triangle. And as a naval commander and a theoretical physicist search for the sub, they managed to open a wormhole that reveals a mysterious island that is inhabited by anything lost in the triangle, including sharks, Vikings, and Nazis.
Wow.
So see, that would have been such a cool movie.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
hoping this new version is still pretty similar to that, but the director gets to do, what he wants. So
Dude, sharks.
Mm-hmm. Vikings.
And Nazis?
And Nazis, yes. You're like, let's go to the Bermuda Triangle right now.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
And that's what it was, like the synopsis that went around
can you imagine
before.
Nazi Vikings?
But supposedly, hopefully it gets made this time, because this movie has been going around for a while trying to get made. And I'm hoping that it finally does, because it seems like it'd be a really cool movie.
Well, yeah, it sounds great.
Doesn't sound like a documentary or anything.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
That's awesome.
All right, so let's go into this next story. This is about a man who slammed his truck into an Easter Island statue.
Oh, no.
Causing incalculable damage.
Oh, no.
This poor boy.
Earl!
So apparently this man left his truck unattended with only a rock wedged under the wheel to try and keep it where it was at.
Jesus.
And he was arrested because his truck rolled down the hill and struck one of the statues. And it definitely caused quite a lot of damage.
They didn't tie him to one of the statues like the Kraken.
Well, they're sacred, so that's really an offense to the culture. And I think it's helping to go towards an argument of not letting people drive in that area.
Well, yeah.
Like right now there's no law against driving, in the area, but I think some people really want that to be a rule. Especially with a lot of tourism that comes there and things like that,
Yeah, man, that's crazy that they already haven't figured that one out.
There are some pictures. It's horrible. It's pickup trucks just like there, and it's like right into the Moai statue. It's terrible.
I bet that guy has the worst luck for the rest of his life. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the things you don't want to do.
Well, his parking brake was broken, and I guess he thought, well, I'm just going to put this rock under the wheel. That should suffice.
Yeah. And in other news, a backhoe got away from him. He knocked the pyramid down. I mean,
I don't know, poor guy. He was just having, he's just having a terrible day already.
He tried to make it up for it and fix the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
He was just having a bad day already. Thought he'd go see the statues to kind of make it a good day, and then, that happened. I don't know.
I mean, that's like, how do you get away from that moment?
I don't know. It doesn't say what happened to him. It did say he was arrested. I'm sure they didn't keep him in jail, but he's probably going to be fined or something.
Man, I would have came up with the best story. I would have been like, one of the giants from underneath. It was crazy. You saw one of the giants. I saw one of the giants.
Wow. All right, so let's go on to a mystery from New Zealand.
Oh.
So this is a mystery about severed possum tails. Hundreds of them littered all over the roads in central and far north in New Zealand.
That's horrible.
It is. But here's the weirdest part. This isn't the first time this has happened. This happened back in 2015, and they never figured it out.
Oh, my God.
And it's happened again. And when I say, I'm talking, it says hundreds, but I looked up, this one guy said that he noticed them starting at this place called Mangamuka Gorge in Kataya.
Right.
And it went all the way to Orwa in Auckland. And I looked that up. That's like 150 miles.
Wow.
And he said it was a really weird sight. Every so often there would be a possum tail, severed possum tail, and nobody has any idea what it could be. Some of the theories are that some people were like, oh, it's some kind of elaborate protest, which I don't know what they would be protesting with, possum tails that go in that far. Somebody else said it was part of like a possum color, because that's a thing there. Like they have people that there's so many possums that they have people there that kill them.
Right.
And that maybe he just took the tails as part of a payment, had them in the truck, and they were just falling out as he was driving.
Great possum calling.
I don't know, but they were apparently all over the road. A lot of people saw them in a lot of different areas, and just hundreds and hundreds of them, and nobody has any idea. And it's weird that this happened, before, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's really weird. I mean, they don't know, so there's nothing more to that story other than
no. That's it. They have absolutely no. There are pictures, and they show, and I tried to look up what you would do with like I thought, well, maybe somebody was collecting them to make something out of them to sell them. Like, do people use possum tails for something? I had no idea, and I tried to look it up, and I didn't really find anything. Dog toys maybe, but it's not like a big money making.
Yeah. I don't think it's like ginseng or anything.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's that possum tail season again.
It's very strange.
No, it's. I
feel bad for all the possums running around with no tails.
No, I mean
where are they gonna climb?
I kind of want to see them. Like, I hope they team up with those pigeons that have the hats.
That's on.
It's like, we're tired of being make jokes of.
I don't know. It's crazy. So hopefully they'll figure it out and there'll be an update to that story. I doubt it.
Oh, no. It's very, 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 very strange. If it's a cult, it's actually a cult I'm scared of.
Because they're obviously insane.
Yeah. That's one of the weirdest things ever.
It really is. I'm surprised that didn't happen in Michigan.
Wow. Yeah, me too. There's nothing strange ever happens in Michigan, though.
All right, so 2 more stories here. This one is just kind of a really cool thing that you can do. Apparently, the Winchester Mystery House is offering an online virtual tour for free.
Oh, wow.
Because they're having to be closed right now due to, the virus. So you can go to their website, and it's a 40-minute video, and it's online for free until April 7th. And they will take you, I guess, I haven't watched it yet. I guess it's just like a tour of the grounds and of the house. Now, they also have a thing on their website where you can buy what they're calling a ticket voucher. And if you buy it online now, you get it at a discounted price, and it can be used at any time in the future with no blackout dates, no restrictions, and it's good through May 1st, 2021. And the reason they're doing that is because they wanted to find a way to be able to still pay their employees even though they were closed. So it's actually a really good deal. If you were planning on going and taking the tour, you can get a voucher for only $26, which is like $13 off the regular price.
Wow.
So it's a really good deal if it's something you want to do, or if you wanted to get it as a gift. And it does help them out and helps those employees out, during this time.
I know you want to do it.
So I do. I want to go so bad. The house is just so crazy. I mean, the number of rooms in that place.
Yeah.
I just can't even. I think it says there's 1,616 rooms.
Yeah. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
It's nuts. And I mean, it's so hard to get around in the thing. I would have a hard time because of claustrophobia.
Yeah, because some of the hallways and stuff are really small.
Yeah.
And it's very odd. One thing I didn't know about it was it said in this article that it was 7 stories high before this earthquake in 1906. Now it's only 4 stories high.
Oh, crap.
So I guess they decided to stop building up,
Yeah.
to start building out more. So, but yeah, very cool. And, definitely go check out that free video tour.
Yeah.
40 minutes. It took them that long to do a tour of that place.
That's pretty cool, though. Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell. You turn up the audio, you never know what you'll find.
All right, so the last story. This one's not really paranormal, but it was just kind of funny. So I thought I'd include it in here, and you definitely have to go watch this. It's hilarious. This is about a vicar who was doing his church online, filming a service online for his congregation while they had to be inside. And his name is Reverend Stephen Beach of the St. Bordeaux Parish Church. And he was recording an introduction to his sermon when he leaned a little too close to an arrangement of candles on the table beside him and caught himself on fire.
Oh, God.
Yes. So, but he handled it very well. He said he was talking and he just said, "Oh dear, I've just caught fire. Oh my word." And he patted it out. He caught it pretty early, so he was able to pat it out with his hand so there was no damage. And I think he just continued on. Hopefully he adjusted the camera angle so that he wouldn't have to lean in quite so far.
Wow.
But it was very funny. It was nice of him to do that.
I wonder what the old Reverend's been up to.
I don't know. He just spontaneously combusted.
Yeah. I mean, signs and stuff. I don't know. We have a listener named Hannah who knows all about like accidental fires.
Yes.
Just to throw that out there. Mm-hmm. What's up, Hannah? But yeah, that's crazy.
Well, that is all of my news.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, there you go. We had a little bit of everything once again. A little Bigfoot Jesus. I got to say it once again. And just because I gave Stacey during the off time there a full rundown of my Adult Swim cartoon idea.
He doodles while I do news.
It's not all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I draw what she's talking about.
Right. But I wasn't talking about Bigfoot Jesus.
You did, though. And... Well, no, you didn't.
I didn't.
It was me that talked about Norman.
Right.
The Mormon.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so glad you could join us. Mm-hmm. Once again, it is going to be a weekly epidemic. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not a good word to use right now.
Let's not use that word.
Okay. It's going to be a weekly event.
Event. That sounds festive.
That we're trying to bring you during the epidemic. Mm-hmm. So you not only get...
Pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a pandemic. But anyway, during the pandemic, the thing is, we want to be there for you. Mm-hmm. We want to reach out and touch you. So,
no, we don't want to get within 6 feet, actually. Nestle
on up to that radio right now. This is the safest kind of touching you can get. And just let us breathe on you. But now we got the creep out of us. Right. The thing is, we got Spaced Out Radio every Saturday night live with Mr. John and Mrs. Stacey over here. And we got the Paranormal Sideshow with you whenever the hell we get it out every week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best way to get it, because you just never know. Sometimes you wake up, get a little surprise waiting for you. And somebody's like, why don't y'all just put them out every Wednesday or every Tuesday? Because I'd be lying to you.
Yeah, because our schedules don't work that way.
No, they don't. But
No.
if we say weekly, we mean weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good little commitment to make, and we're going to do it by golly gosh. And, it might not be 5 hours, but you're going to get this, and you're going to get Spaced Out Radio. So join us on Spaced Out Radio. Be sure and join us again here next week on the same bat channel, at least.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be the same bat time. For my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.